Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. And I apologize for the delay in bringing this second part out. Life just been busy. And just to be honest with you, this is not my forte. I love cutting hair. I love communicating with people. I like uh, learning about different places in the world and helping people travel. But this is not my thing. So it really takes a lot for me to kind of set aside the time to sit down and really get into the past. I'm a big believer and not allowing the past to control me and moving forward with my life. However, I feel like it's important for me to tell my story. It's important for me to tell my story, and that's what I have to do because I feel like I have a responsibility now to let other people know. If you're a witness watching this, if you're a witness on YouTube and you're watching these videos of ex-witnesses and you really doubting the religion, is a reason you're here. And a lot of you might be PMOs, physically in, mentally out. And so this is a way for you to get some kind of maybe therapy. It was for me, it still is, to check out videos from other people, real people who have real experiences in this religion. A lot of it being traumatic. So I appreciate you being here and being patient with me on bringing this second part out of my story growing up. And I apologize again for the delay, but I am going to be making more videos more consistently. But for right now, let's just get into my part two, growing up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, in part one, I talked about growing up, being born in, parents were witnesses. We were the ideal family. I was baptized around 13, 14 years old. And in high school, you know, you were just different and odd and weird because you couldn't do things that other kids were doing. And I forgot to mention that even growing up in the hall, even in the Kingdom Hall, you got cliques, okay? You got groups of kids that kind of hang out together. And one of the reasons I got baptized was because kids that were a little, maybe my age or a few years older, were getting baptized too. So I thought this would make me kind of cool too to get baptized. I remember we had a party, or let's call it a get together, at our home for kids my age, teenagers. And I remember people came through and I was so excited, man. You should have seen how hard I was brushing my hair, had my wave cap on, because, you know, there's a couple girls in the hall that I thought was kind of cute, you know, so I'm getting right. And so people came over in our basement. We had refreshments, we had music and stuff. But I remember the party, it went cool. I ain't gonna say it went bad, but it went cool. And I remember like they had plans to do something after this. So they didn't stay as long as I thought. I didn't think it went as long as I thought it should, or maybe it got cut maybe a little short. But I remember the cool witnesses, you know, kind of clicking up, and they were going to go out somewhere else. They was going to go hang out somewhere. And later on, and I'll get into this too. You know, I started leading a double life, and I see some were already doing that. When I thought back about it, they were already leading a double life, because you can't really be you and be a witness. Your authentic self, your identity of who you are, you really can't be that if you know who it is, if you're going to be a good witness. So there's always this dilemma or battle within this internal warfare going on about who you are, who you want to be, and who you're supposed to be. So that was one thing growing up that I forgot to mention in the first video. Another thing was this infatuation that witnesses had with demons and how everything was possessed. You know, if we bought something from a garage sale, we had to pray over it because it could be possessed or something. You know, stories about people having stuff at home on Bible studies and stuff jumping around in the house. It was always this infatuation with demons. You know, we couldn't watch the Smurfs or He-Man, any cartoon that had any kind of touch of something about a demon in it, or some kind of like, you know, spiritism or anything that they considered to be wicked or on Satan's side. You couldn't do nothing. You couldn't watch it. Had nothing to do with it. So it's just kind of funny thinking about later. You know, I'm not really a big person who dwells on the past too much, but since I'm doing these videos and I feel like I need to tell my story, I've been able to kind of go back, and, you know, some memories have come back, some I've forgotten about. And so that's a couple of things that I forgot about in the first video. But let me get into, if you watched the first video, I told you about me growing up as a witness. Our whole life was revolved around activities, Kingdom Hall service, you know, Bible studies, things like that. Everything had to do with the religion. And even though we had time to socialize with other people and family and stuff and play games, at the end of the day, everything came down to witnessing. preaching, telling people about this religion and how they need to get in because the end will be here at any moment. Again, I was baptized around 13, 14 years old. I was trying to be a good witness. My dad got disfellowshipped. My mom went through issues. And I left off where I was sentenced. I would start doing crime. I started doing like petty crimes, and it escalated into aggravated robbery. So I was convicted for 3 aggravated robberies, 3 felony ones with 3 gun offenses. I took a plea deal. I ended up getting 10 years in prison. I got sentenced to 10 years in prison. And I did a little over 9 of those 10 years and got out shortly after getting my Barber license in 2007. But let me talk about a little bit the mindset of a witness kid growing up and then being sentenced to prison. I mean, I'll just say this, man. It was devastating. It was devastating. I thought this was like a bad dream. Matter of fact, the day I got sentenced and the judge told me I had 10 years in prison, of course I cried. I remember my family was in the courtroom, my mom, I remember them crying. And I went back to my cell in the county. And I can remember going back to my cell, closing the door, and I said, I just want to go to sleep. I just went to sleep. Because I really believed that this was not real. And that if I just go to sleep, when I wake up, this is just some bad dream or nightmare. But no, I woke up in that cell. I still had them 10 years to do. It's funny. I didn't get bailed out either. When I got arrested and got locked up in the county, there was no bailing out. Okay, my parents didn't bail me out. I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't. And so it was a bit of adjustment. I spent 6 months in the county jail. I got sentenced, and then I was off to the prison yard. In Ohio, one of the penitentiaries. This is where you about to go. And they first send you to a reception center where they send everybody. It's like a couple of them. I think they got 2 or 3 reception centers in the state where they send everybody that's been convicted to this reception center. And there they kind of figure out your sentence and this and that. Then they place you in your institution or prison that you're going to be for a while. And so I remember getting sent to, it's called CRC, Correctional Reception Center. But anyway, I remember getting sent off there, and I'm in a cell with, my first cellmate is this old white guy. And, in prison, man, first thing I'm thinking is somebody gonna try to take you. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't having it. I ain't having that. So I slept for like my first month and a half. I think I slept with I think for a month and a half I slept with a sharp pencil in my hand every night, in my hand under my pillow, and I slept lightly. And but eventually, I got sent to Warren Correctional Facility in Ohio, down by Cincinnati, in between Cincinnati and Dayton, Ohio. And down there, this is my first prison I'm in. Everybody gets a job, whether it be in the kitchen, doing dishes or something like that, or you might be cleaning up some bathrooms or something. Everybody had a job to do. So in prison, I really didn't get back into my Jehovah's Witness routine immediately. For the first part, I was just adjusting to prison life. My first cellie in Warren, he was cool, older black guy, man. He got life. He had a body, so he was doing life already. He had been locked up for a long time already, years, over 10 years, at least 10, probably more than that. But anyway, I'm there with him, and he kind of helped me out. He kind of showed me the ropes, the game, a little bit about prison. And before I went in, I had 2 rules that one of my cousins told me that proved to be true and to make it in prison. And number 1 rule was mind your business. Mind your business. That was number 1 rule. Number 2 rule was don't gamble. So I applied those 2 rules in prison. They definitely helped out, being new to this environment, not knowing, what is what, not hip to no street life or nothing like that. I grew up a witness in the hall. I don't know about no street life and gang banging and all this kind of stuff, but I did. I mind my business. I hooped. I worked out. I played chess. I learned how to play chess. And I kind of just stayed to myself. But when it comes to being a witness, you still kind of naive or whatever in there. I really didn't get back into the Jehovah's Witness studying until I left that prison. And I remember I got sent back to Ohio, Toledo, my hometown, I'm from Toledo, Ohio. And before I got locked up, they were building a prison like in my backyard. When I say my backyard, where we used to ride our bikes is where they was building this prison. And so it was about to be opened up. And guess what? I signed up for it. They had an announcement about people, who want to sign up to go to this prison in Toledo. I'm thinking like, that's where I'm from. Hell yeah, I'm trying to go there. So I was one of the first 40 inmates in that prison. And that's where I started getting back into my Jehovah's Witness routine, beliefs, because they would have brothers who were from the congregations in Toledo come in. One happened to be a relative of mine. He actually was a uncle by marriage. And he would come in. Another elder that I knew growing up, he came in, knew him as a kid. And so that's when I started getting back into my routine. I had a cousin who was locked up in there too. He was fresh in for a new crime. And so he was going, and I was on a visit one day with my family, mom and sisters, I believe. And in the visiting room, there was a couple other dudes locked up with me, but we recognized them like, wait a minute, we remember them. And guess what? My mom studied as a witness. She studied with their mom, the two cats that's locked up. My mom and their mom studied the Bible. So they were there too, and we seen each other and was like, oh yeah, remember. So me and a couple of cats that, the couple of the dudes two of the sons that were locked up too, we reconnected and we chopped it up and things like that. Anyway, long story short, they start going to the Kingdom Hall too in the prison. So they would have brothers come in about, I think, once a week. They would come in for our meetings. And so I started getting back into Jehovah's Witness beliefs. And at this time, now I'm really studying. I'm reading the Bible, the New World Translation. I got the reference study Bible. I got notes in the side. I'm studying hard. I read for the first time in my life, I'm reading the New World Translation. I'm reading the whole translation from the governing body, their version of the Bible. And I'm studying it, and I'm reading it, and I'm really all in. You know what I mean? This is the first time in my life I really studied, because I ain't got nothing else to do. I got time. And this is around, in that 10 years, I say this is around year number 3 to 5. Yeah, somewhere in there. This is around that time where I am into it. Matter of fact, you remember 9/11, right? On 9/11, when those buildings were attacked, I remember I was in my cell in Toledo, and I remember coming out, everybody was watching the TV, and I'm like, something going on. So I went down to the day room, and everybody watching the news and these attacks on the World Trade Centers. And I really thought that this is really it. This ain't no thunderstorm Armageddon. This is Armageddon. They attacking, man, this gonna break out into Armageddon or the Great Tribulation or something. You know what I mean? This had to do with the prophecies from the witnesses. I promise, this is it. And so I'm thinking like, man, I am in prison when this is going on. Like, this is, like, can I make it into paradise while I'm in prison? When you grow up as a witness, I'm telling you, your whole life and everything that's on the news, everything revolves around this religion and what they teach. Their prophecies about the end of the world and all that, everything revolves around that. So, the king of the north, king of the south from Daniel, I was studying all them books they had, man. I was studying them hard. The Isaiah prophecy, I'm all in. And so I really, truly believe 9/11 was it. This was Armageddon. This was the Great Tribulation starting that would lead to Armageddon, and that would lead to paradise. But for me being in prison, I'm wondering, am I going to make it? Are they going to have martial law? They're going to just shoot everybody in here? But if they did, I'll be resurrected, right? Because I'm doing good. I'm studying. I'm going to all the meetings. You know what I mean? So, of course, Armageddon didn't come. It didn't come after that. And so fast forward a little bit. I'm still doing time. I still believe it's the truth, though. I'm still going to the meetings in there. One of my homies that was in there, again, their mom studied with my mom, or my mom studied with their mom, whatever. One of them got baptized. One of the brothers got baptized while in there, along with my cousin that was in there too. He got baptized too. And so we was a strong little group in there, witnesses in the Toledo Correctional Institution, TOCI. That was the name of it. And so we were preaching in there. We would have Bible studies with people. I remember we had this one guy in our unit. He was a Catholic. He was born and raised a Catholic, and he was strong about the Trinity and stuff like that. Man, we flipped him. We got that dude to believe that the Trinity was false, and that he was like, he started coming to my cell and my homeboy's cell, knocking like, hey, I found another scripture that proves that the Trinity ain't real, And I'm thinking like, yeah, we did good, man. We got him to believe. And at the time, you really believe that you're doing a good thing. I was cutting hair on the street, so in there I ended up getting a job cutting hair in there. So that was my job too. I would cut people hair and I would witness to them. And remember, you still turn in time. Jehovah's Witnesses, if you're not a witness or don't know about them, every month, they don't do it no more. They cut that out. But growing up, every month you turned in how much time you spent talking to people about the Bible or about, what you consider to be the truth. And so I remember talking to people that I would cut their hair and I would count time in prison, man. You know what I mean? I get, we'll get, I don't know, 20 hours, 25 hours or something like that. We had return visits, but you literally wrote down what you did that month. You turned it in. It went in. The brothers who came in would collect your time, and they would turn it in. So you felt like you was really doing a good work, and you were contributing to the worldwide work. And so, after a few years there in Toledo, my security level was dropping because I'm doing time now, and I'm getting closer to the end of my sentence. So in year 6 of my sentence, I was eligible to go to another camp, where it was a lower security camp. And so I signed up for it because the camp I was going to had they had a barber program there. So I'm like, I gotta go there. You know what I mean? I cut hair already, so in my mind, I want to be able to get licensed before I get out. And eventually that's what happened. My time at North Central in Ohio, another prison, that's where I finished my time at. I spent like my last 4 years there. And there I really was, it was a bigger group of witnesses because this prison had more inmates. It was a bigger camp. And I remember there was a couple of elders, a couple of brothers from one of the local kingdom halls. They would come in and they had a schedule for Jehovah's Witness meetings every week. And they had this for other religious groups too. They had church services too. But the Jehovah's Witnesses, we had our meetings once a week. They would come in. And so we would give parts. We had parts on what's called the Theocratic Ministry School, where you can give a 5-minute talk or a reading or something like that. So we're really involved with this. I'm really involved in it because, again, this is all I know, man. This is all I know. So, I'm doing it. And I remember we would be on the yard sometime, me and a couple other inmates who were witnesses too. But we would go on the yard and we would really preach. Like we had magazines and we'd be walking up to other dudes locked up, other inmates too. We'd be like, "What's up, man? What's going on?" Our presentation was different when on the street. Instead of knocking on doors, we just stopped people while they walk in the yard and be like, "What's up, bro? Check this out, man. Something to read. You a Bible reader? Because in there you find a lot of people turn religious, whether it be Christianity, Islam. A lot of people have a lot of time to think, so they'll turn to God and they'll turn to religion as a source of maybe a comfort, a source, maybe an escape a little bit to kind of get away from the prison life, So that's what we did. We talked to people in the yard, even had Bible studies with guys, man, from the publications that Jehovah's Witnesses have, the books they have, we would get those and preach to people. So I was really active in there. So I'm in there, I'm doing the whole full-time Jehovah's Witness lifestyle. I get into barber school. And in barber school, man, I'm like, this is it. I get to cut hair. You know what I mean? I'm learning professionally how to cut hair at a couple good instructors. And I end up graduating, get my barber license while I'm in prison. And now I got like less than a year left. And this guy named Kurt, who was a church guy, me and him was cool. I met him through another guy I went to school with who was locked up in there too. And again, man, I can count on one hand how many people I was cool with in there, not too many. And he ended up telling me, I know you believe in your Jehovah's Witness stuff, man, but when you get out, man, you're going to have to your 20s. I've been there since 21. I'm 30 now, almost 31, something like that. And he basically was like, man, you're going to have to get out. You're going to have to, basically, you're going to have to sow your seed. You know what I mean? You're going to have to, he was right. He was right. But he worked in the legal library and he knew about legal stuff. And he actually filed my paperwork to get out early. So I got out a little bit, maybe 8, 9 months before I was supposed my sentence was over with, and he filed my paperwork for me. I'm forever grateful to him. May he rest in peace. He passed some years ago, but he filed my paperwork. I got home early, got my barber license. I'm out, and man, I tell you what, it was like all that time in prison. In hindsight, now I'm speaking about after I've woken up now. Is I think back like, man, I spent all that time in prison and I still didn't wake up. You know what I mean? Like I had all that time to study and everything, but that's how strong this program is. It's how strong the indoctrination is, especially from birth. It ain't got to be from birth. You can get into it later in life, but when it's programmed and downloaded into your consciousness from birth, you know what I mean? You are really tied into this thing. And again, everything revolves around it. You feel guilty about just about every thought you have that may be out of line. You know, if you do things that you know that ain't right, your nature saying one thing, but your conscience telling you something else because it's how it's been trained. And so if you're doing God's will according to them, then you close to God. But again, this is our men's words. These are men's words. So now I get my release. I get out of prison. For a couple weeks, I was in a work release program, and another witness lady who had a beauty salon, she got me a spot in her beauty salon where I could cut hair at, and so that's where I started cutting hair at. She also hooked me up in a rehab nursing center where I could cut once a week, cut older guys or people who were rehabbing, and so that was cool too. And I'm doing the hall thing, man. I'm doing the hall thing strong. I really believe it. And within a couple of years, I end up meeting another witness girl who parents knew my parents growing up. You know, in the witness community in our city, you know, everybody kind of know everybody a little bit. So we started dating, and I ended up getting married. We started talking. We started dating around January 2009. We were married by November 2009. We engaged in the summertime, then we were married by November. And so we got married. I was 33 years old at the time. And remember, I was locked up from 21. I got out at like 30. I was 30 going on 31. Yeah. And then I was married by 33. First year is not easy. It's rough. And I still believe I'm a witness. I still believe in the witnesses, of course. I become a ministerial servant over time. I'm doing talks. The wife is somewhat pioneering, I believe, or something like that. But anyway, we're an ideal couple. We have issues. And later on, she went to the elders. And so I ended up having a judicial committee with the elders. And this is shortly before our first son was born. And I'm disfellowshipped. And I'm disfellowshipped for wrongs that I committed. And I confessed everything to the elders. You know, I sat back there in that interrogation room. And I called the interrogation. I remember at one point during the meeting, I said, man, I feel like I'm in the police department. Man, I feel like I'm downtown being interrogated by police. And I remember the brother put his pen down and was like, you know what? Let's just take a break. And he said, you know what? You're right. We're sorry. We don't have good memories. So, we just. But, man, they asked me I feel like I'm being grilled, like, for my sins, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm confessing everything, y'all. I'm getting emotional. I'm feeling vulnerable, and I feel like I'm being attacked at the same time. And in hindsight, it's like, man, somebody that's what they call spiritually weak, that's when you're supposed to be supporting them, not tearing them down. But long story short, man, they wrote down all my sins on paper, and it's probably somewhere in the file cabinet, and they disfellowshipped me, and that was a blow. That really was hard to take. So in my next video, I'm going to talk about being disfellowshipped, and my wife is still in it. We're pregnant with our first son. And my goal is to get reinstated before he's born. And that didn't happen. But I did end up getting reinstated. So in my next video, I'll talk about that. Again, thank y'all for being here. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much. I've been blown back by the feedback and the comments and likes and things like that. I appreciate it. I really do. I'm not going to ask you to like and subscribe, and I'll do all that stuff. If you want to, you can. I'm just thankful for those who have tuned in. And hopefully, if you're a witness watching this, hopefully my story can help you wake up. Because that's the whole point of me making these videos, is to help somebody wake up and realize, do your research and realize that this is not the truth. This is just a publishing company. It's a big business, and they need you to be part of it to keep the business going. You don't need a religion in order to get close to God. If you're a believer in God, you don't need this religion to get close to God. You really don't. These are just some regular, imperfect men who just say that they have a channel to God. It's just a business. That's it. Made up of many corporations, and they're worth billions of dollars in real estate. So I'm just here to spread knowledge about the truth, and again, share my experience and journey growing up, and hoping that it can wake somebody up so that they can have their real best life. Not this fake life in the witness world where people won't talk to you if you don't follow them, if you don't believe in it no more. So see you on the next one, y'all. Peace.